I remember as we were walking down the hallway, approaching the room where the birth mother and our daughter, where they were at, it really hit me at that moment as I was walking up. I truly don't know what the birth mother looks like, what the baby looks like. I'm about to accept a baby into my family purely off of love. Well, ever since we got married 6 years ago, my wife Desiree and I, we always had it in our hearts, we had it in our minds that adoption was going to be a part of our story, that we eventually at some point wanted to adopt. And so it's a big deal for me because I come from a family where 4 of the 7 children are adopted. I'm one of those 4, and so man, it was a big deal for us. We really wanted this to be a part of our story, and we knew that a child's life would be forever blessed, like mine was, through the gift of adoption.
So we have one son, Nehemiah, who is 5 now. And when we had him, it was a total surprise, but he has been such a huge blessing. But I knew that I did not want to get pregnant again. And so going back to like before we were married and knowing that we wanted to adopt, we knew that it should happen sometime soon. So I would say 2 or 3 years ago, I was actually at Isaiah's mom's house, and she loves garage sale, thrifting, all that kind of stuff, and she was on this huge thing about little girls' dresses. And so she was showing me all the things that she had found, and there was this one dress. It was like a tie-dye lace dress with this aqua blue ribbon, and it was the cutest thing I ever saw. And I told her, please, please, please hold on to that dress, because one day we're gonna have a little girl and she's gonna wear that dress. And then now it was August of 2019, and we decided, you know what, now's the time, and we started the adoption process.
Yeah, so the adoption process, especially the private adoption process, it's interesting. And so you are doing all of your necessary paperwork for your state. You're putting together a profile of your family and how you live, so that way they can give your agency can give your profile to different birth mothers, and then the birth mother ultimately has the choice to choose you and to choose your family. And so it can be a daunting task when you really look and you get an in-depth view of who you are and how your family operates. It can be kind of a daunting task, but you do have to be sure, and you do have to be reminded that God will make a way, even when it feels like there is no way, and even when you have those questions of, will they like my profile? Will a birth mom see something in my profile that she doesn't like? Or is there anything about me that wouldn't quite measure up for a birth mom? Because I think you have to remember that this is, for you, a big gain, but for them, it's a loss. They're going to, in effect, give you their child. And so you want to feel like you measure up to that task. You want to put on your best self, but you also want to be genuine with it as well.
Okay, so like we mentioned, back in August of 2019, we filled out the application. We got a phone call, spoke with someone, walked us through all the details of everything. We got a nice little welcome packet with a book talking about adoption, which was really great. And then after that, we started a home study. So that's like a huge task. Like, they literally rip apart everything about your life, like your finances, job, everything you could possibly think of, they dig into it and find it. So that was pretty crazy, very long and time consuming. But and then after that, we started our profiles. So we had like an actual book profile that birth moms got in the mail, as well as an online website and a video. So it was a lot of different tasks we had to complete. So it was very humbling, very vulnerable to just kind of putting yourself out there. But the reward in the end is great.
So our son Nehemiah at the time was 4 years old. And so we had not listed a preference, whether we wanted a boy or a girl. And so Nehemiah was just funny. Some days you'd ask him, well, are you ready for your brother or sister? And he'd say, yes, I want a sister. Some days he would say, yes, I want a brother. And so with him, he was kind of all over the place. But it was cool to see him come along the journey with us. He would pray with us that God would bring his brother or sister to us. And so it was a beautiful moment.
By the end of October, we finished all that process. And so at that point, we were just waiting. And I believe it was the beginning of December, we got a phone call about twins, which is funny because we didn't even mention that we wanted twins.
Absolutely.
So when we got the phone call, we were a little like apprehensive about it, but we were like, you know what, let's give it a shot. We're open to a conversation. Let's see what this birth mom has to say. So we got super excited. We're over here thinking, oh man, we need a bigger car, like all these little things that you don't normally think of. And then we didn't hear anything. It was silence. Like, we called the agency. They told us we haven't heard from her. She's not, responding to us. And so that was really heartbreaking because, you wait so long for that phone call and then you get it and then you don't hear anything. And so for me, it was like really heartbreaking. Like, I was like, oh man, we gotta wait again. Like,
kind of had it in my mind of how I was going to parent 2 twin daughters. Like, this is crazy. We would be outnumbered. We'd have 3 kids, Nehemiah, 2 twins, and then we'd be outnumbered. But then hearing that they hadn't contacted back, it was just kind of a little bit of a letdown there for sure. But I kind of knew that, and I had to encourage myself again that God had the right child already picked out. And we're just walking the journey. And really in those scenarios, what you hope is that maybe someone else stepped up in the picture and they say, hey, I'll parent these kids, or maybe someone in the family, or maybe birth mom believes that she actually does have what it takes to parent those girls. So you never know, you just have to trust God's plan.
So it's December 31st, New Year's Eve. Isaiah's taking a nap. I'm hanging out in the room on the computer, probably on Amazon or something. And we had a party later on that we were gonna go to. So I get a phone call, and it's from the agency, and they say, hey, we have a baby that was just born. It's a little girl. Do you want her? And I didn't even talk to him. I was just like, yes, we want her. We'll take her. And so we ended that phone call. They emailed me all the paperwork, and I go into the guest room, which is across the house, and I like storm in. And one thing you need to know about Isaiah is that he gets startled like if you wake him from a deep sleep. So I just like charge in there, and I have this big old grin on my face, and he's like terrified, and he's like, what is going on? And I'm like, we have a baby. And so it was just crazy. I started tearing up, and he didn't know. He was like halfway awake, didn't even know what was going on. But yeah, you can tell your side.
Yeah, I was scared. I'm gonna be honest, I was scared. But then she told me, and I kind of woke up a little bit more, and I was excited. I thought we were gonna be going out of state. I was like, where are we going? We're going out of state, and because our agency works with women in all 50 states, and so you don't know where you're going, and so you just have to be prepared to go. And then we found out that it was actually within 2 hours of us, and so that was amazing and beautiful. And so it was cool to see God craft all those moments together.
Yeah, so we got the phone call at 4, and by 8 o'clock we were at the hospital with the birth mom and the baby.
So we get to the hospital. Our daughter had already been born the night previous, and so we later found out that there was just that 1 day delay in giving us the call because the birth mother was just apprehensive and just kind of just hesitant to make that official call. And one of the nurses that was tending to her was able to talk with her and find out her situation, a little bit more of that. And she even offered to just sit with her while she made that official call to our agency to contact us. And so that was a beautiful moment. And it really gave us a heart for not just ourselves in the process. Yes, it was an answer to prayer for us, but it gave us definitely that heart for the birth mom and what she was going through. And so again, we had that check of it's not all about us, it's also about other people involved. And so it was, but it turned out to be a beautiful moment. Meeting our daughter was, it was an experience. I remember as we were walking down the hallway, approaching the room where the birth mother and our daughter, where they were at, it really hit me at that moment as I was walking up. I truly don't know what the birth mother looks like, what the baby looks like. I'm about to accept a baby into my family purely off of love. I have not seen her. I don't know anything about her. And so it was, that was an experience. And I wouldn't change it for the world, but I remember it really hit me at that moment. What was it like for you?
Man, I mean, wow. I don't even know. It was crazy because I think for me, it really hit me when we were in the car, like on the way there. Just because all the time before that, it was like hustle and bustle, let's get everything together and all that. But we were in the car, like on the way there, and I'm texting her, like just saying, hey, we're on our way. That's when it hit for me, because I'm just like, wow, like I don't know this woman, I don't know this girl, I don't know anything about her, like, and I'm about to go to the hospital and like take her baby home with me like that. I think that's what really hit me the most, just because, you know, I was expecting to at least have a relationship with her beforehand, just to kind of get to know her and have kind of some of those difficult conversations of, okay, can I change the baby's name? You know, are there certain things you like or don't like? You know, like, I mean, at the end of the day, it is our child, but you still want to respect the birth mom as well. So getting to the hospital and meeting her for the first time, like, it was so surreal, because she was like, I mean, I guess I didn't know what to expect, but she was just the sweetest person ever. Like, so humble, so just, I mean, I feel like I connected with her almost immediately, before I even got to like hold Noelle. And then when we held her, it was just like, wow, like she's ours. Like, this is our baby girl. Like, we've been praying about her for so long, and like, here she is. So it was crazy.
Taking our daughter home from the hospital was definitely bittersweet. It was bitter because you are realizing, like, again, that this birth mother now is without a child. You have that child. The responsibility on you is huge to raise that child the way you said you would raise that child. And she picked you. You have to remember that the birth mom picked us. And so just that pressure and that responsibility to be what we in our profile said we would be. And so it was definitely bitter in that moment, but it was sweet because, again, it was an answer to prayer. We felt like God really made a way for us to parent baby Noelle, and so it was definitely a mix of both emotions.
Yeah, and for me, I think like through this whole process, I didn't take enough time to actually think about how the birth mom would feel in that moment. I think a lot of times you kind of have a misconception of like the birth mom doesn't really care about the child, doesn't really love the child, doesn't want the child, but to see like our birth mom, you know, holding her in those last moments and kissing her on the forehead and saying how much she loves her and all of that, like that really broke my heart and made me cry, because it's just, and seeing her emotions just flood, you know, it made me realize that she does love this child, and that's why birth moms put their child up for adoption, is because they do love them and they want the best for them. And so that to me was just very, very humbling. And again, like sweet too, because we got our baby girl and we got to take her home, and watching Nehemiah with her, like that was just the cutest thing.
Oh yeah, he embraced her immediately. And really these last 10 months now have been amazing. They've been fun.
So we brought our baby girl home and got to raise her. We were supposed to finalize everything in April, but because of COVID and all that craziness, it got pushed back. So it wasn't until August that we actually got to finalize the adoption through Zoom, of course. And so the really cool thing about that was she wore that dress that I mentioned earlier, the one that I said, please hold on to, because one day we'll have a baby girl, even though I had no idea at all. She got to wear that dress. And so I think for me, that showed me how amazing God is, that the things you speak over your life, the things that you believe, like He hears you, He'll give you the desires of your heart. You just have to trust and believe Him.
Absolutely. And if I can encourage anybody out there, I would say if you're interested in this process or anything like that, like once you feel that nudge, I mean, go for it. There'll be a ton of questions that you feel that you have to answer. There'll be a ton of questions that you may not even have answers for. But one thing that we've learned through our story is that as we continue to just take that step of faith, God truly shows Himself to be the way maker. So all of your questions, He has answers to. Even if you don't, He does. And He's able to see you through that process. And the timing of it for us happened kind of relatively quickly, but at the same time, I think if your trust and your faith is in God to be the way maker, then you'll be patient with His timing. So for us, it just happened to work out, but we had to settle that even before. Hey, if this takes a year, we're going to be in it. We're going to watch God provide, and He certainly did.